This video will add 1 to 2 more wins to your next event. Don't hyper-focus on deck building against the best deck. I feel like this is a trap that a lot of players fall into, and they look at the pie chart, they look on YouTube, and they see what the best deck is, right? And then they look at videos on how to counter the best deck, and then they say, whatever, play Nibiru, play Droll, play like Super Poly, right? So what people tend to do is they tend to like main deck these cards, right? And then side even into more of those cards, right? So they could be over prepared against that matchup. Now, when a deck is clearly the best deck and forces you to open utility cards, you're kind of like already in a way playing at a disadvantage, right? Because you have to see those utility cards where they could just draw engine and they could beat you, right? This is especially true in the tier 0 format. Now, I think the better approach and a way to approach deck building during these times is to play cards in the main deck that are decent, right? Not blowouts, but like they're decent against the best deck, quote unquote, but they're also good all the time. So cards like Ash, Imperm, Veiler. I'm not saying to play those cards, I'm just saying an example. Like, you should play cards that are just always good against any deck, right? But are also decent against the best deck. Then you could side deck into cards that are really good against the best deck, quote unquote. So a lot of the big trap that people tend to fall into is like maining cards like Nibiru and Droll and stuff like that. And then, they get to a regional and their first 3-4 rounds are against like a trap deck or like a random rogue deck or like, Pearly. Like, oh, why is he playing Pearly? Why is he not playing a fire deck? So people tend to deck build around the best deck of the format in their main and side, but then lose to rogue decks, and they never get to even use those cards, or they've prepared their deck so well for this best deck, but they're never going to get to that spot because they don't have the tools needed to beat the other decks. Now, your deck alone should carry its own weight a little bit, right? It should still be decent into rogue matchups, but I think that's a good approach to take towards deck building. Just don't over prepare for it. Don't think it's going to that's going to win you a tournament, because you'll be surprised that when you enter a regional or an event, you're not just going to play against the best deck, right? There's so many other decks in the format. There's so many other types of players in general, right? You're not just going to play against the top meta 0 player. And then one last tip, which I think is really, really important, is people also tend to side deck cards that are really, really good against the best deck going second and not going first. So when you're siding even more cards going second, going second cards against the best deck, you're assuming that that you won game 1, which, I mean, it's good. I like the optimism. I like the, you should be thinking that you're good anyway, but it's smart to be prepared for when you go first. So I think playing a blowout card or like maybe even a floodgate for going first is really smart, just in case you lose game 1. But again, I suggest playing a card that's just generally good in the format. So maybe a card like Anti-Spell, right? Instead of playing cards that are super honed in, broken against the best deck, like how people are playing Soul Release, for example, during this fire format. So that's pretty much it. I think this video, if you watched it all the way through and you implement these tips, you will for sure add 1 to 2 more wins in your next event.